Hey guys, Flaming Chicken here. Another video. This time I figured we'd talk about PSA rating because my channel's kind of about selling the cards. I'm not really trying to collect them. Maybe I'll come across something that blows my mind, and maybe I'll just keep a card here or there as my own personal cards. If you haven't already seen my other videos, I already have quite the collection, and then of course cards in the book, cards in that book, mainly duplicates, and then some other cards on my shelves that are waiting to be sold. So we're talking about PSA ratings and whether you should get a card PSA rated or not. If you're going to keep it, if you're a hardcore collector and the card you believe is in a 9 to 10 condition, yeah, no matter what the card is, you should have it graded, well, unless you have the ability to put it in this case yourself. It's not so much the grading that matters if you're going to actually just keep a card that you already own and like, because you've already determined that that card is worth encasing forever. In that case, and I have no idea if it's even possible, unless only Beckett or PSA has the machine to do this, but why not just go ahead and get it in this nice case? This really means nothing if you don't ever plan on selling your card down the road, and if it's encased like this, you can always have it graded later down the road. But that's a whole other story. That's just for people who are passionately collecting and already have some cards from their childhood that survived their childhood. A lot of my cards didn't. I gave away a lot of my cards, and I still have so many. But looking back on it, I gave away a lot of expensive cards, but that's neither here nor there. That's years ago. But we're talking about PSA rating. And so, for example, I had just pulled this coughing, and the booster pack is only one booster pack. I think I paid $6 to $7 for the booster pack, and this coughing, based on eBay prices, unrated as it is, goes about $12, $13. So it paid for the pack in a sense. Some things you have to account for is shipping, whether or not they're going to pay for it. Usually when I go above a certain amount, I make the shipping free. You got to account for all the holders you use on it, so I'd probably use this sleeve plus a top loader to ensure it survives the mail, because the condition of the card is very important. Luckily, this card came in pretty much either in 9 or 10 condition, which it should. It was an unopened pack that I opened. The question is, would this card be worth rating? Well, there's conditions you have to look into. How many cards are you going to rate it at once? Because they charge a lot for single cards. I feel as though it's a lot. It gets pretty pricey, even when you're doing bulk. Even on the individual card, I think it's a lot. There's service, and so you have to make it worth it. Not only do you have to account for the price of their service, but you need to account for the price of your shipping to them. That includes the insurance, because usually you're shipping a gigantic bulk of cards, and usually if you're shipping cards to PSA, you're deeming those cards are worth about $50 each usually, or maybe $30 each is probably your lowest you should go. And so if you're shipping to try and get your lowest amount, or at least the initial lowest bulk amount through the membership price, you're shipping them 50 cards. If you're shipping them 50 cards at $30 per card at a minimum, that's $1,500 worth of cards. So you're going to have that insured through USPS or whatever shipping service you're using. You're going to want to have it insured. So that's going to cost some extra money right there, and you have to pay for the shipping back from PSA. Now, if you're lucky, maybe you live in their area. That would be quite convenient. I would love to one day maybe live near them just to save me so much money on the PSA rating. Before we get too far, I've never had anything PSA rated yet. I bought these already PSA rated. I got a great deal. I took advantage of it. This card here and this card here are two cards I will probably have PSA rated, and maybe even this card. And we'll get into all that. So the reason why I probably have this coughing PSA rated is because it breaks the threshold as long as I get it within my bulk amount. So as it sits, this coughing sells for about $12 to $13. If I have it PSA rated, which should cost about $8, and if I ship it with everything else at once, it should only cost, when you figure it all in, it should only cost about $2 there and back because of all the cards you send at once to have coughing sent. So it should cost about $10 to $12 to have coughing rated. Now, granted, I'm fairly certain this coughing is a 9, maybe even a 10. The only reason why I think this coughing may not be a 10, it's not that there's no scratches on the front or the back. You can't see the back. The sleeve covers it up. The only reason why it may not be a 10 is it's not perfectly straight, but that might be because of the sleeve itself anyways. I just put it in the sleeve. I didn't really take too much look at the card, but it guaranteed, I promise this card's a 9, so it's still worth it. How so? So it's, sorry, I got these on a very slick binder. So it's not just, you don't just view it as the shipping and the cost of the PSA. View it also of how much would the card be if you didn't PSA rate it. So that's also your cost against your PSA rating. So, as I said, not PS rated, $12 to $13. PSA rated 9. Right now, they go for about $20, $25. That card, though, even though I'm just getting into the newer cards, but I've been kind of lurking and watching them over the years, that's a card that's going to continue to increase in value. It just has a rarity to it. It's limited, and it's just going to slowly increase. It's going to take time. This is a time game for especially the new cards. The old cards, you can find them in a deal. Like if you go to a garage sale and you find someone's mom who's selling some kid's collection that they thought were a waste of time for $50 for a full binder of rares, yeah, buy that shit up. That's going to pay off in the end almost immediately too. Believe it or not. So this is the other thing getting the PSA rated cards. If you're brand new, especially within the actual value of card collection process, you may have been steamrolled into thinking, oh, holos and legendaries are worth a lot of money. Now, earlier in another video, there is a dent on this, but even if there wasn't a dent on this card, which there shouldn't have been in the first place, this card came in a brand new pack, but maybe a kid tore up the pack on the ground or something, or who knows. Even if this card was in 9 to 10 condition, the card goes for about $7, near mint. And then if you PSA rate it, there's actually not a lot of information on this card for PSA rating, but the information I could find is a 9 goes for $30. It's kind of worth it, kind of not. This one 100% not because of the line. It may not even get a 6. It's better just to sell this as is, or group it with some cards and sell them as a pack to someone and just let them know that it has some damage. That's just the thing. You can't get caught up in the fact that this is a legendary dragon, or at least I was tracking Rayquaza. I know Rayquaza is not the right way to say it, but I was tracking. He is a legendary Pokemon. He's on the front of a Pokemon game, Emerald, and you'd be surprised because you have this guy who at a 9 goes for about $30 if you're lucky, and then you have this card. It's not first edition. It is from original base set, and it's shadowless. And the way you tell if an energy is shadowless or not is whether or not it has the year 99 right there. Not here. People get that confused. This year means nothing. It's this year you're looking for. That means it's shadowless. And same goes for trainers. If that number is there, it's shadowless. So this is a shadowless energy card. Granted, this one will probably be a 9. I looked up all my energy cards. I treated them kind of like shit compared to my other cards. So I don't, as far as I could see, I have no 10 energy cards. I don't have any first edition energy cards, which is crazy because I had thousands of them, but granted away, I also gave away thousands of them. But you'd be surprised that this goes for pretty much the same price as this if this was a 9. And sometimes when this is a 10, it's not 100% for certain, but they do sometimes go for $50 to $60 as PSA 10s. They're not even first editions. They're just shadowless cards, and they're not even the main Pokemon. But it's a nice little art piece. People don't understand that PSA cards, once they're PSA'd, they're pretty much art pieces because they're never going to lose the condition they're in within this holder. It's a fully sealed holder, and only basically if you completely set it on fire or break it or electrify it or throw it in the microwave will this card ever lose its value from this point on. It's basically like a piece of gold. It's just going to continue to increase over time, especially depending on how many are sealed already, who keeps destroying them. But we'll get into this one later at the end. I'm not really concerned once the cards fall off. They're no longer a part of the subject. And so we get into this Jolteon. Jolteon, actually, for me, was a hard one to figure out because there seems to be a lot of misprint Jolteons to where this symbol isn't on there, which of course increases the price, and most of those ones are PSA rated, and these ones here that if it's not first edition, it's normally not PSA rated. So I did have to do some, looking around. This Jolteon, I honestly believe, it's hard to tell with all the glimmer and sleeve and plastic around it, but in person, comparing it to these other PSA 10 cards I have, I'm almost certain that this card will get a PSA 10. And even if it gets a PSA 9, it's still worth it. So non-rated Jolteons that are, in near mint condition seem to go for about $10, $10 to $11. If it's in the nines, the one I couldn't find a Jolteon 10 actually that wasn't a misprint, which I'm almost certain this is a 10. But the 8s are going for $80 to $90. There's not a lot of them. And I saw one 9 going for $140, and they were still charging shipping, which is a little bit nuts. So I feel as though this is a 10. If it is a 10, I feel as though 140 is definitely fair if someone who has a 9 is asking 140. The other issue you get into when you get your cards PSA rated, depending on how bad you want or need the money, understand, once you get your cards PSA rated, they're going to stay that PSA rating forever unless you break them open or do something really, really dumb. So theoretically, they should never, ever lose value. They should only continue to increase in value. That sounds fantastic. Here's the issue you run into depending on which market you're trying to capture. If I have this Moltres, which is a 10, and they go for about 120 to 190 to 200 as 10s, I know that's quite the jump. It all kind of depends on what you're willing to wait for, who you're willing to wait for. And as 9s, they go for $50. If you wanted to lose some money, granted, it doesn't cost you any more to get a 10 when you're having it PSA rated, but theoretically you lose money. If you wanted to sell your 10 quickly, sell it for $50 because that's what a 9's going for. If you do it enough, you're going to hurt the 9 market and you're going to sell all your cards fairly quickly because people see 10s at 120 to 200. Sometimes even more. People ask ridiculous prices. To me, it's just free advertising for your card to make it seem even pricier. The more expensive your card is, theoretically, also the more time it's going to sit on your shelf. Good news is, Pokemon cards don't take up a huge amount of room in your house. Bad news is, you're not making any money. So it's a double-edged sword. It's not a double-edged sword to make a 10. It's a double-edged sword to ask a 10 price on a 10. It's all up to what you want to do. Now, I may hold on to these. It's going to be rare. I do have a duplicate 10 because I got a deal. But I'm probably going to sell the duplicate 10 and still keep the other Typhlosion 10. Because 10s should, and theoretically, will only go up in value. So I hope this was useful to you on PSA ratings and what you should do. It's not worth to get anything PSA rated below an 8. As we do these videos and we go through this process and I determine which of my first 6 cards I'm going to send up to have PSA rated, we'll see how they look before I sent them and what they come back as for the PSA rating. The only issue is PSA rating takes a long time, and hopefully it's worth it on my end. Hopefully it's worth it on your end. You get to learn something. I know another video we're doing that I'm working on is all the people who post near mint and mint on eBay, but they're not rated cards. So it's based on the eye of the beholder. There is some scammers out there. Granted, eBay tends to defend the buyer pretty well, so scammers have kind of been leery of trying to scam people. But it's going to be interesting to see what other people count as near mint and mint, and then sending them up to PSA to see what PSA counts as those near mints to mints. Now, of course, why is this little guy in the video? Because currently we're doing a giveaway to those who subscribe and like the videos up to April 24th, 2020. It's a original Viaplume coin. It is a little scratched up. It is a used coin, but it is a coin from the 2000s, and it's a free coin. Goes for about $5-10 on eBay. So if you want this cool little collector's coin to play with your games or just put on your shelves, if you're a real big Nature Energy guy or just Viaplume fan in general, we're giving this away. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and good luck.